your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. On the earth, nations will be in dismay, perplexed by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will die of fright in anticipation of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." But when these signs begin to happen, stand erect and raise your heads, because your redemption is at hand. Beware that your hearts do not become drowsy with browsing and drunkenness and anxieties of daily life, and that catch you by surprise like a trap. For that day will assault everyone who lives on the face of the earth. Be vigilant at all times, and pray that you have the strength to escape the tribulations that are imminent, and to stand before the Son of Man. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Happy New Year. For the church, this is the beginning of the new year. I thought about that because New Year starts January 1st, chronologically. But if we just go by chronological time, and just kind of like on that physical level, we're going to die. That's all we get. But if we think about it, and if we would begin and just to open our lives more to the life of the church, which begins today, chronologically, the beginning of the new year, how much differently we could be affected by maybe coming to church more, reading about the saints more, celebrating St. Andrew on Friday, and different ways how we can be affected by going by the church calendar. We have a calendar, we have readings that are read throughout the church. The readings that we read today are read on 7 continents in the church. Isn't that beautiful, that unity? Isn't that powerful? And if we would, that could be one way to help us to become less secular in this very, very secularized world. How much God has for us, beloved. Just to think about that word, beloved. The God, we are in one galaxy. There's billions of galaxies. And God spoke that into existence. How much He has to unwrap and unleash for us in our lives. How exciting that is if we will fix our eyes upon Him and listen to what He has for us. To fix our eyes in this world that's Madison Avenue and the lights and the entertainment. And, as we begin this Advent season, in some ways, in terms of the world, I get nauseated. I don't want to buy anybody a present. I really don't. That's the last thing I want to do. We seek out these presents, and we can be so materialistic. I'm not saying that's you, but that's our world. And it could be you, and it could be me. What if we sought out after souls like that? Our children's souls, and our friends' souls who never come here. Who won't come to the sacrament of reconciliation to find out the true meaning of it all. I get nauseated just because we're supposed to be slowing down and taking this in, and we get so busy. B-U-S-Y. Being under Satan's yoke. Busy. I've shared that with you before. Just that whole thing of being under Satan's yoke. But to fix our eyes on what the Lord has for us. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Who am I now? Shepherd. Okay. And that's partly true because the shepherd, but I'm also this. Who am I now? The king. Right? Burger King. I had to stop by Burger King. It was so funny. I stopped by Burger King the day of Martin Luther King, and this father was with his son, and my clerics was at a wedding downtown today, and they were just looking at me. I said, "Oh, it's for my homily tonight," you know. And, so they were just staring at me. It was great. But we'll get back to the king in a second. So we have this going on. I want to make a comparison here. So we've got the king with his staff and his crown of thorns. But then I wanted to talk about this, okay? So I'm a person that I'm offering you a contract, okay? So I'm not the shepherd king right now, but I'm offering you like the contract from the dark world, the netherworld, and the world of shadows. And these are kind of some of the contracts that we experience as we come into the season of Advent. I'm going to take these off because I can't see them. Right? So talking with someone, Black Friday is starting in the middle of Thanksgiving Day now. That's a contract of the world. And a contract has nothing to do with the soul. And that's what we give over to things so much. Here's another contract for you. So my niece, who lives on the west side, goes to a big public high school on the west side, and she wants to start a pro-life group in her high school. And she's been informed that she will be attacked legally, fully, if she tries to do that, so to get that stopped. These are kind of the contracts that are going on in our world. We're so against life in so many ways, and so many ways that we can be if we take hook, line, and sinker what this Madison Avenue, what this Christmas has become so materialistic. Back to the king. How does our king, and how does a king become a king? He throws down his crown. He says, "I'm not king." And he comes to earth, and he kneels before you. He says, "I'm here for you. And I want to teach you the way. I don't only want to teach you the way, I want to give you the way. And I will be that way. I will teach you that all that it's about, and I will give that to you. And I will make a covenant to you. I will leave heaven, make a covenant to you, and give my life, and place my life on you so that you may know that." That's what we're preparing for. And that's the good news, and that's exciting. He lays down his crown. How do you become a king's kid? You lay down your crown. You live your life according to the church calendar and not the world chronological calendar. That's how we become who we're called to be. Just a little bit on Advent and kind of where it comes from historically. In the ancient time, a king or an emperor, when they would come to your province, to your city, that was the whole idea of coming to that, and having a visit and being a presence there. So that's where it started, Advent, this whole idea of Advent. It was Adventus, which means coming. Well, we as Christians adopted that, and as we often do, we build on what was already in the milieu, and we say, okay, the king or emperor would come to the province and pay a visit in his power, and the subjects would give him reverence and respect. Now, we believe that the King of Kings, Jesus, has come to Nazareth 2,000 years ago, and he's come to visit our province. He comes to visit the poor province of our lives. We live in poverty. We live separated from the one who created us in many ways, shapes, and forms. We can see it. We can see it in our own lives. There are many times in my life, in my days, I just want to be with you, Lord. I want to be fully with you. And I know I'm not. And that's a very great poverty that I have and that we have while we're away from our home. And we can look at Advent. Yes, Advent, we celebrate the first coming of Jesus and the second coming. But what makes the most sense to me is we celebrate his coming now, his continuous coming. So the king comes into our presence, and he wants to address his subjects. But we're not his subjects, we're his sons and his daughters. And he wants to address us with something specific and worthwhile. Something that's going to give our time right now, meaning. Because if our time right now doesn't have meaning, our future is uncertain. And our future, we don't have a hope in the future. But each moment, if we fix our eyes upon him, listen. As me, beloved. Leave the present to His love. Leave the present to His love. And in that love, He speaks to you in the present with something very significant and very personal for you. And that's what we celebrate. In this weekend's bulletin, I've written an article, and it's about today is the day of the Lord. This is the time we experience the Lord. And in Psalm 23, the last line of Psalm 23, the psalmist, most likely David, says, "Only goodness and kindness shall follow me all the days of my life." Okay, let them catch up. Let goodness and the kindness of the Lord catch up with you and embrace you and change you forever. Brothers and sisters, do you believe? Do you believe that life is a continuous advent and Jesus is speaking continuously to you? And how beautiful that is, and how revelatory of our God that is. And that you can have that. I shared at Thanksgiving Day Mass, and I said I was going to talk about it more later, and we're going to talk about it now. I'd given a penance to someone 9 years ago. I said, write down a blessing, a new blessing each day. They came back to confession 3 weeks ago. Father John, I've been doing it every day for 9 years. That's the invitation I want to make to you. To come to church with your journals. And to believe and expect that the King, the God of this universe, of all the universes, wants to speak to you. And that we would act like that. What I found about that, and I haven't been the best, but as you notice, I'm coming back into it, is when you write it out, it involves more of your senses, it involves more of you. And I found you're more likely to go back to it. And I found you're more likely to talk about it. The visit of the King who's come to save His kingdom and His children in His kingdom. Wouldn't that be neat if we all did that? Wouldn't that be neat if we went home during the week with our families and our children and our friends and saying, what did you hear? What is the King saying? We need the King's words. We're so far from the King in this world. When you try to start a group for life in high school, and they're going to fight with all the power of hell to get that from being established, we need to hear from the King, and we need to act on His words. All of us. This isn't some spectator event here, where Father John gives a homily. This is our King speaking to His sons and daughters. A continuous advent. A continuous visitation from our Lord all of our life. Throughout our life. Until we can see Him face to face in heaven. Isn't that beautiful and engendering and inspiring for us? Fix your eyes upon Him. What commitment will you make to hear from Him, to write it down, to make it become part of your blood, pumping through your veins, very part of your life? You know, when I invite people to Mass, when I'm out evangelizing, or you can come to this, a lot of times they say, yeah, I'll try to be there. You know, I say to them, I won't see you. Because when you say, I'll try, that doesn't mean anything. Time for talking, it's over.